All right, to going first. All right, guys, everybody tired, worn out, tired looking at data sets?
Yeah.
All right, we're Polygraph. My name's Nate, this is Ross. The rest of our team's hanging around. We got the cool t-shirts, so Wynn's got one of our cool t-shirts too, so that counts for something. So we started out with the data set from the Nebraska Accountability and Disclosure Commission. It details campaign finance spending and lobbying here in the state of Nebraska. Now, you might think, just state senators, but it also covers other state offices like, Secretary of State, Governor, stuff like that.
Mayors.
Mayors, yeah, also mayors. So we've got about 20 years of data here, and all sum total, that's about 400,000 records. It's ginormous. They do have a website, but what it is an exact replication of the forms that the candidates file, which is kind of useful to someone working in their office maybe, but the average citizen, we don't know what this NADC form C1A represents. There's no search, or you can only do search, I'm sorry. You can't browse, you can't look at relationships between people, between who lobbied for who. The only way to get more than one record actually is to search for something really generic, so search for E or search for A. It's a good way to do it. They don't have an API. So we actually got a database dump from them about last Friday. We called them about 4 times. We sent them a couple emails. I went down there twice. Finally got it. It is 61 tables. Matt Waite on opening night made a joke that sometimes when government gives open data to consumers, it's kind of in a passive-aggressive sense. We thought this was a perfect example. There's like 70 entity types. Like there might be a campaign, there might be someone running for office, there might be a committee that's formed. 61 tables. They mostly represent individual paper forms. It's pretty much a one-to-one mapping. It's hard to draw clear links between the forms. Some of the data is incorrect. A lot of the data is incorrect. Probably a good 10%. And there's a lot of duplicated things that are supposed to be primary keys in their database that aren't.
Corruption.
Yeah. So our idea was that we should make it easy to browse and search the databases. Now, an important theme of our talk, by the way, is being flexible. So this was our first idea. Simple profile-based website so we can search, we can see connections between the major players in the game. And then we use static dumps from the Open States API, which is a product of the Sunlight Foundation, to get a little more metadata about legislature. We provide a clean RESTful API so other people could build on the work that we've done. We called it the HSW project. So making data accessible is really, 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 really hard. We learned really quick, especially in a data set this complex. Once the data can be queried, making a profile is pretty easy, but profiles themselves are boring. We found it really quick. What's really interesting is the relationships. So we need to present this better. How many guys use Prezi? So you have a slide, and once you advance from the slide, you kind of zoom around, and all the relationships between the slides are like this big graph. So we really honed in on relationships, and that's where we got our name Polygraph. If we can decode their structure, NADC records are all about relationships. Whether you're a company donating money, whether you're a person joining a committee, person running for office, you can relate all those things together, and it's not that bad. One thing we had particular trouble with was trying to find voting records per bill. It's not available. It's just in one PDF. It's not good. Hey, look at that. Java needs updating. We're going to skip the demo. We're kind of short on time. So find relationships. We need to go through the database, find relationships, build it up.
You're at 1 minute.
We got 1 minute? All right, we're going. So we pulled an all-nighter last night. Last night about 10 p.m. we totally changed our mind and said we shouldn't have this one-to-one mapping between NADC forms and things on our webpage because that's bad. We're not adding any value. So we focused on the idea of a graph. We're going to have this big network graph that shows the relationships between each of these principles. So whether it's a campaign, a person belongs to many things. A person might be part of a campaign, a person's part of a company can be related to things. They can give money to a committee, a campaign, indirectly to a bill. So we wrote some import scripts, and that was pretty cool all by itself. We're going to talk about it because we're out of time. So where are we? We're nowhere where we need to be. We don't have this finished. We'll tell you straight up. We could have hacked something together, but it would be a messy prototype. What's valuable and important to us is we want to make this an open source project. We want to start here and launch of Hack Omaha to be something we can give up. We're going to continue working on it, finish the API, and have this really cool network graph. Lessons learned, don't be afraid to throw out your idea, even at the last minute, because you may not be doing it right to start with. And
don't tweet your
database passwords.
Yes.
Or commit it. Don't commit it either. That's bad too. Thanks, guys.
Our team and Matt.
That's our team and Matt.
That's the password right back there?
Yep, right up here. This is the password, the old password to our database.
Mention the website.
And it's not the current one.
The website.
Yeah, polygraphapp.org. Next up, Safe Omaha. Thanks, guys.
We are Safe Omaha, and we set out this weekend to create a site to give you information about Omaha based on your own personal tolerance for what's going on in Omaha. So we wanted to take the data and show it to you in a way that makes sense personally to you. And so the best way to do that was to, we took a few data sets and we basically let you tweak the data and show, we use this heat map concept, and you can increase the heat map for different types of data and information going around, coming from these data sets, and create a unique heat map for you to show Omaha as you'd like to see it.
The safe, it shows the safest and least safe parts in Omaha. It's kind of the gist of it. So we can, of course, we can navigate it through our map right here. We can zoom in, zoom out, and if we want to show, say, you know, crime is important to us. We want to see where the highest level of crime is in the city. Then we can up our crime here, and you can start to see.
With this, we're more worried about crime in specific parts of the city, and so we increase that, which increases the radius around each of the points to make the heat map more full. So, as you can see, if you're very worried about crime, Omaha is white hot.
But we can narrow it down. We can narrow down cops and accidents. You can really start to pinpoint if it loads, where all this crime has occurred.
And this data is updating in real time on our server. I mean, not the data, but it's updating the heat map real time. And so the crime information is the number of crimes, and they're not weighted by anything. It just plots a point on the map for that crime. And the cops is, it tells you where arrests have been made, so it plots the location of that arrest. So if you're really worried about getting pulled over, you can see where a lot of arrests are and put everything back down.
And it's going really slow because we're on a really slow network, obviously,
yeah.
And our server's not the greatest right now.
But the cool thing also is, if you want to click on crime, on the crime link over there, we can also show you that in this area that we're viewing right now, the #1 crime is criminal mischief, under $200. And there was about 5,000 of those. And if you move around on the map, zoom in.
It updates real time based on where you are on the map.
This will update to tell you that now there was fewer criminal mischief under $200 in that area, but it'll continuously update based on that. Same thing with the cops. If you want to close that and show the cops, we'll give you the badge number of the cop that's making the most arrests in this area.
There's lots of cool stuff that can come out of this part of it.
Thank him for all his hard work.
Yeah, exactly. And the next big feature that we integrated, you can also use the search up here, the location.
Right.
Type in 68108. I think that's our zip code right here, and the map will move over to that area, and we can see.
Close enough.
Yeah, sure.
So,
and then finally, Foursquare integration. So we can show you where you've been, and you can use the heat map and see what kind of bad areas you're hanging around in, essentially. But we're connecting via OAuth to the Foursquare API.
1 minute.
Oops.
Are you going to share your password?
Did you see it? All right, so now it shows our, well, my Foursquare check-ins in Omaha. And then you can actually click on them and get a little information about it.
Yeah, very cool.
So, any questions?
Or you click on the map actually. Click on the heat stuff. And the radius.
Oh.
So there was a sexual assault there, avoid Burdette Street.
Sickness. What is this?
Being sick and close.
Yes. Yes.
Are cops and crimes like negatively correlated somehow? Like
Cops is more of just like an interaction, like, you explain it.
So cops, it's just, we put that on there kind of so that you could tailor what you're looking at. So if you were less worried about finding specific crimes out of this data and more worried about where arrests are happening.
Or cop initiated.
These are cop initiated.
Or if you're worried about getting pulled over, for instance.
Yep.
That's a cop initiated thing.
All right. Thank you guys.
Had a suggestion for us to, when we looked at our data sets, not to get so focused on the data itself, but to kind of approach it from a consumer perspective. And I think that's what we tried to do here. I remember back when Amazon was first starting up and they only sold books, one of the things that I was most excited about was the peer reviews. So when I went out to research a book, I could read a review from my peers and make a better, more informed opinion whether or not to purchase that book. And I thought, this is tremendous. This is how all the future of consumerism is going to be. What we wanted to do is kind of embrace that and extend it into property valuation. Property valuation is a pretty big cost for property owners, and the valuation and protest process can be confusing at best, expensive, and what we wanted to do was help provide an interface to that data and make it a lot more usable. What we did, we uploaded the Douglas County valuation that gave us 91,000 rows, which is all the parcels in Douglas County, 61 columns of information. What the challenge there we found is that some of the data was not clean. For example, we wanted to integrate to mapping. The longitude and latitude coordinates that we were given were truncated, to say the least, so that gave us a little bit of a challenge. But what you have here, go ahead and show if you want.
okay. So here is basically all the default form fields you normally find on the DC Assessor website. So you can still search for your parcel or your location how you would normally do it. You can enter your house number, street direction, all that information, or you can just search by zip code and just get a brief summary of all the valuation properties in that zip code to kind of compare, see where you are. So you can search, you can check, I just want to see what everyone's land is worth around me, or you can see improvements or the building that it sits on, or you can compare both at the same time. So if we just want to do a search on industrial properties in the zip code 68131, we can do that.
Now the database is remote here, so we're going over the high-speed internet.
It's going.
191,000 rows of data.
Are there questions right now while this is chugging along?
Basically, one of the things we did find after accepting this challenge, several of you from the World Herald mostly pointed out that there is a website on the World Herald's Curbwise site, and it is I wasn't aware of it, and it's a very handy tool. But that deals only with residential data from what I saw. What this gives you, and what we really wanted to do here, is be able to quickly list for, say, commercial, a person who owns a commercial piece of property, and you could do residential for that matter, and just give me a listing of all the properties and then allow me to filter that list down to properties that are like mine. So you can pick, doing some really elementary statistics, I want to see the 20th percentile and the 80th percentile. I want to see the mean, the mean valuation of properties around me, and let me filter that down to my zip code or even down to my subdivision. So it gives you a real fast interface to the data that hasn't been available or is not available and is rather cumbersome if you use the Douglas County assessors. It's a real simple application. The links will take you to the Douglas County website to further drill into any property. Pretty simple if you look at it. We're not designers, obviously, so it's you know, I don't know what font we used, but
5 minutes. Perfect.
default. That's it. Thank you.
My name's Nate. Had an awesome time this weekend. Just throw that out there right away. It was a real fun experiment. But formed a team with Steve and Matt and Mike here, and we kind of started off down the road. We wanted to do something with the food data that was out there, and so we formed our squad and we got together Friday night and we kicked around these ideas, and we really boiled it down to one fundamental question, and that is, does your perception match the reality of the health and food inspections, or at least the reality of the Douglas County Health Department, however you value that. So what we created was an app for Android and iOS to run natively that pits two restaurants against each other, and you want to go ahead and bring it up? So that's going to fire it up here. Basically, we call it Omaha Food Fight, and we pit two, I keep saying restaurants, that was one of the cool things we learned about the data, is that this is anywhere that sells food. And so it's kind of fun pitting a elementary school against a come and go, or that kind of stuff. It shows up. But you'll see, like here we've got P.F. Chang versus the Practice Tea. I may or may not know anything about either one of these. And so Matt's going to make a choice here which one he thinks is has a better sanitation rating. Yeah. What do you guys think? P.F. Chang's?
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay.
Wrong. Wrong. So your inspector rating is now going to go down for that. So this will keep going perpetually. But where this started to get really interesting was more than just the app. Every time you make a choice, we're actually sending that data back and recording it on those restaurants. And so when you're making these choices of these restaurants, we now pool it with everybody who's participating, and we can see what the trending user data is against the inspection rate. And so, do you want to bring that site up now? Sure. It's actually favorited on here. How much time do we have?
3 minutes.
I want to show you the back end real quick too. We have some devices if you want to play around with this. We also have a link to the APK if you Android users want to put it on your phone. And here's the website, and I'm going to let Matt drive here because he should tell you what we're doing with the data algorithms.
So one of the limitations that we found with the data is that there's only 4 inspections that you can do. There's fair, standard, superior, and excellent.
Yep.
But no other delineation between the two. And clearly that's not really how restaurants work, and that's not how we perceive restaurants as being. So what we wanted to do was to see on kind of an objective scale, how do we figure out what is the most or the cleanest restaurant? So what we did was we took, for every comparison that we do an ELO ranking, the same thing that chess systems use, that Mark Zuckerberg's first project used, Face Mash. And every time that they win, that venue gets points up. If they go down, then it goes points down. And if a poor, like the lowest one or the fair, wins against a superior, then it shoots down way across. So what we can see is what are the top 50 of the venues that we can find. One thing that we noticed that was really interesting was that almost all of the restaurants that get the superior aren't actually restaurants, they're schools. And we don't really know why that happens, but that might be something useful to look into, right? Why is it that everything is getting superior? Is it because that they really are just that much cleaner than restaurants? I don't know. You can also see what the bottom 50 are, if you're interested. And you know, some of these are like maybe a buffet. I'm not super surprised the Family Fun Center is near the bottom 50. One thing that you can also figure out is what are the conflicting user ratings for a venue compared to what the inspector says. So we try and match the values. So, you know, the Curry Express is rated by the inspector as fair, but our users are saying that it's standard. So that's kind of interesting. That would be something that venue owners might want to know about. You know, if people are thinking that their restaurant is really dirty, well, maybe you can change that. And then you can also figure out, for an individual store, we rate those. So of all of the 31 subways that we have in Omaha, which one is perceived to be the least clean? Or, you know, Burger King. Only one Walgreens got a fair rating, and that was the one on 30th and Dodge, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to continue to get this. The better, you know, the more people that we have accessing it, the better the data gets. And we hope that we can get this secondary data set out and let people know about it. Any questions? All right, thanks a lot.
So our team is called the Voter Registration App, which is obviously very original. A short story, I guess. I had a friend that signed one of those petitions a while back to recall Mayor Settle. And somebody in the news media published like all of the voter registration information for everyone that signed the damn petitions, and he got freaked out because he didn't like all of that data, you know, all that data being out there about him, just because he had signed this petition. And I thought, you know, this might be an interesting set of data for us to go over. If someone is that worried about, you know, what's been published about them, maybe this is an interesting data set to kind of make more visible. So that's what we did, is we took the voter registration data. And I guess kind of along those lines, what we were thinking about was we want to be able to plot this stuff on a map, particularly like a Google map, and then make it so we can plot several of these voter registration records on the same Google map to see, like, maybe along the street. Or is my street predominantly Republicans or predominantly Democrats or nonpartisan, whatever the case might be. So the app that we put together was kind of to illustrate that. I guess the three things that we really wanted to talk about in this demo are our search capabilities, and then the filtering that we put into this app, and also talk a little bit about the challenges that we came across when we were working with this data set. So first we'll talk about the search. And as a part of this project, we did implement like a full text kind of Google-like search engine that's called Lucene. And this kind of is like a full text search of the database, so all these voter registration records. So for example, you can type in like 165 and then street, and it would just show you all of our records that we have where that voter is registered at an address on 165th Street. And we can narrow it down more like north or N 165 Street to see maybe if we're just concerned with people that live north of Dodge, any voters there. And then we can get more specific to a specific house number, like 4250 North 165 Street. And what that will do is show us.
If the suggestions don't stop me from doing that, we'll do what we want to do. 4250, you said?
Yep.
Oh, that's not going to work.
So you can see, like, those are the two voters in Douglas County that are registered to that address. You can also put names in there, first name, last name, names and streets. It's a pretty flexible search engine. Go ahead and click on one of the results.
Working on it. We're chugging through some tiles here, but eventually it will come
Again,
out.
kind of going back to the Wi-Fi, that's one of the challenges we'll talk about. For projects like this where we're using the Google Maps API and we're using external people's data sources, you've got to have reliable and solid internet connections, or the user experience is just not that good. But what this would do is load up the map and then basically drops a pin on your house or wherever, you know, wherever you're a registered voter, which is really fascinating, kind of creepy too. But Did we make any progress?
I don't think it's gonna go. We'll try. Let's do the filtering, and then hopefully we can pull up one over there. But
All right, and then the filter. We were thinking, okay, a full text search is great, but what if I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I just want to filter things down based upon some properties? And there's a bunch of properties in this data set. We just picked the ones that we thought would be most useful to put in our filter. So for an example, let's just do date of birth, 10/22/1986, and that's Adam's.
oh, great! We're gonna show my voter registration record.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so. This probably won't come as like a huge surprise to people when you see it, but
Also order by.
oh yeah.
That's all right. But anyway, you can see Adam West is the first one that comes up.
I want to go ahead and not click on where that's gonna go. Just gonna put it right on my house.
1 minute.
So we were just kind of, that was the point there, was to show a list, and then you can select multiple of these entries, and it'll plot those points on the map, either a full page or just one at a time if there's just a few that you're interested in.
Right.
Obviously that worked better if we had
So let me see if we can
internet.
get some of these to actually.
While he's doing that, I'm going to talk about the challenges. Obviously the sheer size and the complexity of these data sets, like a laptop just doesn't cut it sometimes, even with 4 gig of RAM and like dual core processors, it just doesn't work. And then getting it into a format so you can easily put it in a relational database, which obviously optimizes and handles working with these data sets much better than Excel or anything else is really going to work with them. Internet connectivity is kind of a challenge. We found out early on we've got to have solid internet connectivity. And then just kind of bigger, more hardware. Better machines with more RAM, more memory, more processing power come in very handy. Overall, it was a real good experience. Thanks to Omaha World Herald for hosting this and giving us these data sets, because some of them are very expensive to get if you just want to go get them yourself, as we found out.
We're out of time, dude.
You're up.
Thanks a lot.
We took the food inspection data and we asked ourselves, how would we want to use it? And one of the things we want to know is whether or not the restaurant we're interested in going to is clean. So that's the big thing. We thought people want to know whether the place they're going to go is going to be safe. Well, as it turns out, some of the ratings are really interesting. 74 of them had the lowest rating. More than a third had the second lowest rating. As was already mentioned, schools have the best rating as a group, which is interesting. The best thing about this information is that this information exists, it's out there, you're paying for it with your tax dollars, and now you get to look at it. So we wanted to take that data and we want to translate it into something that had some meaning for people. So we took those 4 gradations and we translated them into bugs. So, because, you know, that's a lot of times what's going on. I mean, you've been there, you've seen it. All right, so the likely use cases. You're looking for a restaurant that you already know about. You want to find out, is it in fact safe? The other one we thought would be discovery. You're in a part of town, what's around here? Is it clean? Known restaurant. Speaker, hey, I'm in the mood for Chinese. Let's go to Rice Bowl. I don't know about that place. Is it clean? Let's go to the app. You go to the ratings, you type in Rice Bowl. Whoa, 4 bugs. Well, what does that mean? That means that they have a real problem keeping to the health code. All right, let's try a different place. Okay, so this is the second scenario. You're in town, you don't know the area, you want to know if there's anything to eat around here. Well, maybe. But are the restaurants clean? Let's go to the app. You go to a map, filter nearby locations by bugs. 4 is the worst, 1 is the best. Because, you know, you only see 1 bug.
Mo bugs, mo problems.
You click on a green one. Hey, this one looks like a good restaurant. Or why don't we just go home and make grilled cheese? Okay, it's demo time.
So we do have a live demo up of the mobile web app. If you guys want to go to see that, the address is.
I'll tell you. It is despec.co/isitclean.
Despec. DESSPEC.
.co, not com.
We put that together with jQuery Mobile using the Open Layers Map API with OpenStreetMap.
So here it is.
So this is what you'll find if you can get on there, and it will pinpoint your location if you allow it to.
Yeah, it's already said yes. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so he selected a restaurant here, Susie's Baskets. Apparently this is a food preparation, not which is the previous group. One of the previous groups said, yes, it's where people prepare food. Get your bugs here.
It's an inverse rating. We don't want more bugs, remember, so.
More bugs, more problems, right? So we can view more. It'll take us to a place where we can see a rehash of this snarky phrase, and it'll tell us about the meaning of the rating. So this comes straight from the Douglas County Health Department's page, and they were so concise we didn't feel like we need to paraphrase them. Additionally, you can go to a list view where it lists all of the food preparation facilities with the rating and area in case there's multiple locations. At the top you can search by bugs. So we can see all of the two bug locations here. 20 Grand Theater, surprisingly excellent. Also 3 Tapping, if you've ever been there, that's a disgusting place. So we can search by bugs, we can search by place. Can we have an example of search by place?
Go to the top there.
How about Taqueria? No, it's too long to type. But
Don't go to Taqueria Tijuana. It's got $4.
okay. Follow his favorite.
It's one of my favorite
restaurants.
places.
Are $4.
Yeah, my favorite.
1 minute.
What do you guys want to look for?
Oh, we have 1 minute.
Okay, why don't we ooh, Applebee's.
Wow.
So a couple of things as we're taking a look that we wanted to do after this was we could see the need for adding some other crowdsourced information. We would love to bring in like Yelp, Bourbon Spoon, Google reviews, aggregate data. We also would like a way to report a health violation that we witnessed to the Douglas County Commissioner.
Okay, well,
And here's now this is the iOS app.
the pièce de la résistance. For all of you who are into this sort of thing, you have your own native app, which has some additional functionality that the other one doesn't have. A little bit more friendly for choosing your restaurants locally. You still got the list view. Here you go. Here's all the 2 bug ones nearby.
There's like that many.
Wow. 3 bugs. So
we're all,
only downtown.
all done.
Here it is. We got it filtered by inspection type, which and alphabetically. Well, why don't you comment?
You guys are done.
Oh, okay. So those guys spent their weekend turning data into bugs. We spent most of the time turning our code into bugs. Little programmer joke.
You guys used how old is?
We use a new framework called Meteor, which was mentioned at one of the keynote or talks, which was released on last Tuesday. Version 0.3.2. So it's not like they hit 1.0 or anything. It was dumb. But nonetheless, we did it. I'm Jared Santos, Zach Leatherman. We're Team Omaha Bounty Hunter. As the Safe Omaha guys mentioned, they had the crimes up there. Crime happens, theft happens a lot. It happens a lot here in Omaha, and in fact in 2011 there were $12 million in stolen property reported for crime alone. So when that happens, the stolen property's values are approximated for the police records and for the insurance claims, etc. And then turned over to us for competitions like these to do with what we please. In this case, the victims report the thefts, and the primary factor in that, in assessing the value, that's not very accurate, because as a victim you have a bias and an incentive to crank that value up, right? So we started looking through these and noticed that, first of all, the things that are stolen are really funny, and second of all, the values are all very strange. So how can we do this a little bit better? Let's crowdsource actual approximates, get a bunch of people to tell us what they think it's worth, and then, you know, if we get a critical mass of numbers, now we might have a better valuation that insurance companies or whoever would be interested in. But how do you do that? Well, you present the work to them as a game and try to insert some addicting gameplay mechanics, such as awesome imagery, which doesn't pull up when the internet's slow. But we pull in a representative image. Real bit. We have auditory feedback. When you get an exact match, you get a little kick in the butt there. And when you get a street together, you get to tweet your score out to your friends. It's a Price is Right style game, as you guys are seeing, and we can then collect all of the people's choices and hopefully come up with valuations on the properties that are more accurate than the people who actually reported them. We just kind of got started. We're happy to have a actually working game that you can play right now on OmahaBountyHunter.com. Things that we could also add to this is we could show the location of the theft on a map so you can see it, especially since it's local to Omaha. It'd be interesting to see where this piece was stolen from. We could show thefts near your selected location or where you live and kind of center the game around stuff that's been stolen near you. And we could also, which was kind of the original plan, was to add real-time battle mode between two people where you're trying to get closer than the other guy, hence the real-time framework that we used. But nonetheless, we have one-player mode, and it's still really, really fun. I think the app would be a lot better if I didn't spend all day today just playing it. Which, that's not even a joke. I played it a lot today.
It's really hard.
It's hard, and that makes it really, it's satisfaction when you actually drill one.
You guys are not even at a minute left yet.
Okay.
I would like to talk about what's going on with the images. What would that be if we could see them?
So basically what we do is we take the descriptions, which you are seeing. Like HANA generators, you would take that off to Google image search, and we do an AJAX API call to them. Just take the first result and hope it's awesome. And the great thing is a lot of times it's like, wow, that's exactly what the description is. And then sometimes you're like, what the heck is that? And so there's kind of this disorienting effect, which makes the game even harder. So play it at home when you have internet and let us know what you think.
And you can go to this right now if you want to go to OmahaBountyHunter.com.
Yeah.
It's out there, so.
Thanks.
Right. If anyone wants to log in right now, you can log in at this website. But we are your slumlord next door team. There's a few of us, Patrick in the back, a few others aren't here this evening. So we wanted to tackle the looking at land parcel data along with the building code violations and kind of parse out what is the story there. So, and can we determine, tell a story about who owns pieces of land and who owns pieces of land who have code violations against them? So we came up with your Slumlord Next Door, which is an app just to, it was more of a web app to browse through and search for major landowners, but then also building code violations. And so we had a little bit of map fail, and so we are currently online, but we are missing some of our points. The whole point of this app was to expose the top 8 landowners in Omaha, and that have a number of code violations against the properties that they own. So you can browse through and click on each landowner, and a map layer will show up.
We had tile issues. Maybe show them what the tiles look like.
So we'll just show you a heat map. So we wanted to do a little bit of point mapping, but then also some base layer mapping. So this is one map showing a density of where all the building code violations are in the city. And this is a snapshot of the current file in the DC Planning Department. And this is all oh, sorry. I'm from Washington D.C., so I'm thinking like my city. Apologize. But this is a point map of all the locations in mainly East Omaha. There's a few in West Omaha as well. But on top of that, we wanted to look at land value. And so, we plotted land parcel, the total value of each parcel. And so we can zoom in, see exact locations of high land value versus low land value. All this was to be integrated into the map and be able to.
We also have a tabular view.
Yeah. So on top of that, we wanted to expose the data, allow people to browse through and see exact details about each property. So type of residential, type of building, when it was built. You can see a lot of the buildings are very old and on file. So I think, what else do we have? So it's kind of fun to browse through. Yeah, there's some dots. But yeah, so what did we build this on? We built this on. I work for a company called Mapbox in DC, and so we use their map tile hosting platform to host all our maps online, and then we used several JavaScript libraries, Modest Maps and Wax, to integrate into the website. We did some. We did our tables with Google Charts, and then we did a lot of our spatial work with Quantum GIS, which is a free and open source GIS program. So.
1 minute if there are questions.
Yeah. Any questions about this?
How did you calculate who the top 8 were?
We did just a quick group by who owns.
Just whoever has the most violations.
Yep, and just a sum of the properties that they have on file.
Do you intend to continue developing on this?
That's a good question. I think we're going to release the code and allow people to take it on and build it out, make it work a little bit better, and hopefully maybe kind of get the story out about the building code violation data. Well, I think one limitation that we found.
Yeah, the data was a huge limiter because one, it wasn't put together very well, so it was pretty tough to work with it, and then two, it's not continuously put out, so.
It's not something. This was requested.
It's a snapshot from December, I think.
On request by Matt, and so I think it would be interesting that it would be put out more often for people to act on, follow up on, or is the planning department enforcing these violations?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how quickly do violations get followed up on by the department, and how do those the numbers of violations change the number of violations change the valuations over time. I think those would be interesting things.
So that's
Thanks, guys.